Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sarina Zalwa binti Muhammad Hamid. In this video, my partner and I will explain about hazardous waste in Biosphere. Proceed to the introduction to hazardous waste. Hazardous waste is a waste with properties that make it dangerous or capable of having a harmful effect on human health or the environment. It is regulated under various laws due to its potential risks. It typically from chemical waste such as solvent used in industrial process, pesticides and household cleaners. Biological waste that include waste from hospital and labs such as used bandage, cultures and discharged surgical instruments. Radioactive waste whereby waste from nuclear reactors, medical treatments and research facilities that can remain hazardous for thousands of years. Other than that, electronic waste, e-waste such as old electronic like TV, computer and phones. These contain harmful substances like lead, cadmium and mercury. And lastly, industrial waste, the byproduct from manufacturing process that can include heavy metal. Next, we proceed to hazardous waste in the biosphere. Here are the pathways into the biosphere. Hazardous substances can be released into the atmosphere through industrial emission, exhaust, and incineration. Through these pollutants can travel long distance and settle on land and water surface. Other than that, hazardous waste can enter water bodies through direct discharge from factories, runoff from agricultural fields or leakage from waste disposal sites. And contaminants like heavy metal and persistent organic pollutants can accumulate in aquatic environments. Besides, contaminants can enter the soil through spills, improper disposal and agricultural practice. Chemicals like pesticide and industrial solvent can persist in the soil, affecting its quality and the health of organisms living there. Microorganisms present in the soil can alter the waste constituents by organic matter decomposition and assimilation. The biological degradation exploit the ability of the microorganism to produce enzymes that metabolize specific compound. Some organisms break down contaminant to carbon dioxide, water, and methane in organic salts and biomass, from which they derive carbon and energy for growth. The biological conversion of a toxic compound to a less toxic species, which may still relatively complex, is called detoxification. The enzymatic conversion of paraozole, a highly toxic organophosphate insecticide, to a p-nitrophenol, which has only about 1/200 of the toxicity, and it is the example of detoxification. So, common method of degradation for highly chlorinated is co-metabolism. Co-metabolism is the degradation of a compound by a microorganism that derive no nutritional benefit from that compound but occurs concurrently with normal metabolic process. Example of co-metabolism of hazardous waste is provided by the white rot fungus, including DDT, PCBs, and chlorodioxin. Naturally occurring compound undergo biodegradation easily and anthropogenic compound resist biodegradation. This is due to the absence of enzyme that can bring about the initial attack on the compound. Many physical and chemical characteristics of a compound such as hydrophobicity, solubility, volatility, and affinity for lipids assist biodegradation. Organic structural groups such as branch carbon change, aldehyde linkage, metal substitute, benzene ring, chlorine, and some other groups resist biodegradation. So these hazards can give an effect on ecosystems. One of it is impact on soil health and plant life, about soil chemistry alteration and plant uptake. The hazardous waste can change the pH and chemical composition of the soil, which leading to reduced fertility. For example, heavy metal like cadmium and lead can make the soil toxic to plants. Also, plants can absorb hazardous substances through their roots and leading to stunt growth, lower yield or death. These contaminants can then enter the food chain, affecting herbivore and higher trophic level. Second, its effect on aquatic ecosystems and marine life that influence the health of aquatic organisms with the contaminant like heavy metal can cause disease, reproductive issue, and increase mortality in fish and other aquatic organisms. Other than that, accumulation of hazardous substances in aquatic organisms can disrupt food webs. Predators that consume contaminated prey may suffer from poisoning, reproductive failure, or death. Sensitive habitats like coral reef and wetlands can be severely impacted by hazardous waste, leading to loss of biodiversity, ecosystem service. Lastly, consequence for wildlife. Wildlife can be exposed to hazardous waste through ingestion of contaminated food or water, inhalation of polluted air, or direct contact with contaminated soil or water. Long-term exposure to hazardous substances can lead to reproductive issues, genetic mutation, and increased mortality rates. Also, for species with already limited population are particularly at risk as additional pressure from hazardous waste can push them closer to extinction.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. I'm Siti Aisyah. We'll continue about the human health impact. So I'm gonna explain the profound impact of hazardous waste on both human and the environment. Hazardous waste are landed with toxic substances like heavy metals, persistent organic pollutants, and radioactive materials that poses risk to far beyond on immediate health concern. The first one is in the air pollutions. Pollutants such as particulate matter like nitrogen oxide, sulfur oxide, and volatile organic compounds can have effect on the respiratory health to the humans, like asthma, increasing the risk of respiratory infections. In a long term of exposure to air pollutants from hazardous waste, can also lead to cardiovascular disease and lung cancer. Next, in the global warming, the release of greenhouse gases from the hazardous waste lead to the climate change and global warming. The methane and carbon dioxide gas emitted during waste, it traps the heat into the atmosphere and leading to a rise in the global temperatures. This phenomenon, as known as global warming, has far-reaching consequences such as altered the weather patterns, rising sea levels, and disruption to the ecosystem and biodiversity. Is the ozone layer. Certain substances found in hazardous waste, such as chlorofluorocarbons known as CFCs, contribute to the ozone layer. The ozone layer in Earth play a crucial role by protecting life on Earth by absorbing harmful radiation known as ultraviolet UV, that is radiation from the sun. The depletion of the ozone layer increase UV radiation so that it can cause to the humans, which is known as skin cancer, cataracts. It also affects the marine ecosystems and plant growth. First one is at the Love Canal. One of the most famous cases of hazardous waste contamination occurred at New York during 1970s. A residential neighborhood was built on a pharmaceutical waste disposal sites where the toxic substances such as dioxide, benzene, and heavy metals were buried underground. So, residents reported alarming health effects, including the high rates of cancer, birth defects, and other serious illness. The Love Canal incident spurred national awareness about the hazardous Minamata disease. In the 1950s or 1960s, in the city of Minamata in Japan experienced a devastating health crisis known as Minamata disease. In industrial wastewater contaminated with methyl mercury was discharged into the Minamata Bay by a chemical factory, that leading to the mercury poisoning among the local residents in Japan who consume contaminated seafood. These symptoms of Minamata disease included a neurological disorder, loss of motor function, and birth defects. The accidents raised global awareness about the dangers of nuclear pollutions and prompt into the international efforts to regulate nuclear emissions to protect human health. I'm gonna explain about the issue of hazardous waste. The first one is electronic waste, or called e-waste in developing countries. This poses a significant environmental and health challenge. Discarded electronic devices such as computers, mobile phones, televisions that contains hazardous waste like lead, mercury, cadmium, and many more. In many developing nations, informal recycling operation in dismantle e-waste are not proper safety measure. So that exposing to the workers also surround the communities to the toxic fumes and pollutants. Next is industrial pollution and environmental injustice. Communities located near industrial facilities often bear an unappropriate burden of hazardous waste contamination. In many cases, these communities are low income or lack of political power and resources to advocate for environmental protection. Environmental justice movement highlight the unequal distribution of environmental risks. Throughout the history and into the present day, hazardous waste impacted both human health and the environmental in biosphere. From historical accidents like Love Canal, Minamata disease, to ongoing challenges such as electronic waste in developing countries, the presence of toxic substances in our environment continues to pose significant risks. Pollutants released into the air, soil, water contribute to the many pollution impact. By taking proactive steps to reduce hazardous waste generation, we can save toward a healthier, more resilient biosphere for all life and earth.